If I had the world to give, I'd give it to you as long as you live. Would you let it fall? Oh, hold it all in your arms. If I had the world to give, I'd give it to you as long as you live. Would you let it fall? Oh, hold it all in your arms. If I had a song to sing, I'd sing it to you as long as you live. A lullaby, or maybe a soft serenade. Wouldn't you laugh, dance or cry, or be afraid at the change you made? Maybe I don't have much to give, but maybe I have a song or two. Only if you let me be your world could I ever give this world to you. Maybe I don't have much to give, but maybe I have a song or two. Only if you let me be your world could I ever give this world to you. Could I ever give this world to you? Could I ever give this world to you? If I had the world to give, I'd give it to you as long as you live. And would you let it fall? Or hold it all in your arms? If I had a song to sing, I'd sing it to you as long as you live. A lullaby, or maybe a soft serenade. Or wouldn't you laugh, dance or cry, or be afraid at the change you made. Maybe I don't have much to give, but maybe I have a song or two. Only if you let me be your world could I ever give this world to you. Could I ever give this world to you? 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 Na, 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 na. Maybe I don't have much to give. Ooh. But maybe I have a song or two. Only if you let me be your world. Could I ever give this world to you? Could I ever give this world to you? Could I ever give this world to you? Da 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 da. It's all about that last lick. Wha da 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 da. Without that lick, the song would just, it wouldn't be finished yet. You gotta have the little hook, the little tag, the little ba da 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 da. Oh, now the song's done. Oh, that's perfect. It's just like la 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 la. Couldn't be any more perfect. Pardon me. Pardon me for my commentary. I'll go back to playing delicately orchestrated melodies. I'll play a medley of melodies. I'll be meddling in a medley of melodies. I've been meddling in a medley of melodies. Milady, I've been meddling in your medley of melodies. Do you mind? You can go ahead and mine. Go on your mining operation. Mining people's minds. You can mine in my mind, that's just fine. You might not like what you might find. You'll take one look at it and say, whoa, never mind. Oh, maybe you should mind your own business next time. And I'll mind mine like I'm doing now. I'm minding my own business. Sorry, that's not really a song. I don't know where I was going with that. You can have a mind mining. There's a landmine in your mind. Better find that landmine before you, well, you wouldn't step on it, you'd like think on it. Oh no, I thought on a mine. Well, your mind isn't really in your head. That's where people have gone wrong on all that. You just think it's in your head because like your reality is kind of central to your head, you know, with your all your senses and all this stuff going on here. But when you think, it doesn't have to be inside your head. You could be thinking about something way over there. I guess it could be in your head. I think your brain is more like a receiver than or maybe a transmitter. Or no, your heart's more like a transmitter and your brain is like a receiver. You know, we got like we're like a transistor radio. We're a little more advanced than that. There really is no technology that compares. That's why, like, with all this talk of like making, you know, like the Blade Runner reality where the skin jobs or these people, they're not really people, but they might as well be. They look just like people and they act and talk and think they're people. But they're skin jobs. They're fucking AI robot people. But they've been, in the future, you know, with Blade Runner, it's like, they look just like people. But like I always say, it's a lot of work that was put into like making these phony people. They're not real. They just tried so hard. Computers and technology evolved for so long. All this effort, all these trillions of dollars put towards this project to make fake people. When you could have just made people the old-fashioned way, it's a lot more fun, and it works great. I've done it a couple times. You know, I mean, and they turned out to be good people. I like them. They're great. And like, I just don't understand how people just would think that making fake people is better than making real people. It's a lot less work, and it's kind of work that's fun. It doesn't have to, you know, cost trillions of dollars and all kinds of research that has to go in. And you just do it, you know, literally. You literally just do it. I suppose it's kind of difficult sometimes for some people. I'm sorry. But in reality, why would we want to have fake people? Like, what is the perk? What is the benefit of doing this, of going through that effort? What is the fucking point? Why? Just so we can feel like we did the same thing that God did? You know, like in the beginning, God said, let there be a language so I can use it to speak things into existence with. And it was, and he did, and it was good. And he made man, he made woman. He said, be fruitful and multiply. Or multiply, be fruitful, eat fruit, multiply, whatever. Have dominion over this place. Right? That's how it started, right? And then, like right away, like right after that, then this Lord God comes along. It started off just God, but then we had this Lord God. Typically, I'm not a big fan of lords. Like, I've had landlords, and like anyone that has like a title of Lord is typically somebody you're not really all that excited about. And, they're kind of like holier than thou or whatever, but it's just like just a bunch of people talking. It's not true. They're not really Lord. Lord is just a word that doesn't need to be attached to God. God is above Lord. He's above the Lord. God is just God. So this Lord God comes along, right? And then he's like, well, he saw everything that God did, and he's like, well, I want to do that too. And so he molds this man out of mud and clay. And it looks like a man. He molds it out of dirt, and he's like, and then he's got some power. So he's like, he does some like weird voodoo magic spell and breathes up his nose or some weird shit. And then the thing comes to life, right? And he makes this man. It's the same as a normal man, but it's made out of mud. And he didn't speak him into existence. He had to mold him out of dirt and then breathe up his nose, some weird magic spell or some shit. And so now he's got this man, this dude. He's like, I have made you. You're a man. But they realized right away that this man, what's the point? He's going to be lonely. And like, obviously God made man and woman. So you get the impression that this Lord God was like a dude, he's just like thinking about guys. And he's like, I'm just going to make a guy. Oh, fuck, I should have made a girl too. So then he's like, all right, dude, just hold on. And fucking, whatever he does, I don't know if he knocks the guy out or something, but like while he's asleep or some shit, he rips him open, pulls out some of his ribs, and starts doing all this weird operating and fucking, manipulation of gene splicing or whatever the fuck he did, and he made another one, but it was a woman. And then he did the same thing and breathed life up her nose and fucking, and now you're a man and you're a woman. And he named the man Adam, which is short for a damn fool. And he named the woman Eve, which is short for evil. So you can see how this Lord God kind of, he's kind of cynical, right? He puts him in this garden. He's like, okay, you guys hide in here. I don't want God to see what I've done. You guys hide in this garden here, and you're going to be okay, all right? Everything's going to be all right, but just don't eat this one fruit. He didn't say be fruitful and multiply. He said, don't eat the fruit and don't multiply. He's like the antithesis to what was originally set in play. And so, like, they're all, okay. They don't know any better. They're just mud people, They get bored pretty quick, And then here comes this snake. I get the impression that Lord God didn't have anything to do with the snake, because he didn't warn these two mud people about the snake, He was just kind of like, just hang out, have fun. Just hang out in this one spot here. Don't leave this spot. And don't eat that fruit. And, just kick it. And so, yeah, they're bored. And then the snake comes up, and Lord God didn't expect that, because he didn't give them any warning or anything, And so the snake's all, hey, hey, check it out. He caught the woman when she was by herself. So, hey, you know what? All that stuff the Lord God told you, he's full of shit. He said you're going to die if you eat that fruit. He's like, you're not going to die. He's like, no. Well, yeah, but no. The thing is, you eat the fruit. It's symbolic. Like, once you eat the fruit, you become aware of more. Like, well, like, put it this way. You won't be bored anymore. And Eve was like, oh, really? Because I'm fucking bored. And so she was like, I'm going to go ahead and eat that fruit. Because they don't know anything about life or death. They don't even know what death means. They're just bored, right? And so the snake's like, yeah, you're not going to... you eat the fruit, it's going to make things more interesting or whatever. The snake wasn't being like dishonest. I mean, maybe he was kind of being cunning or like coercive or whatever, but he was just kind of throwing a different perspective in Eve's ear. And so she could have said, no, I don't want to eat the fruit. I was told not to eat the fruit. But she didn't know nothing. She didn't know no better. Nobody ever said much about anything about any. She didn't know what happens, like what death is. You didn't know shit. And so she just went and ate the fruit and said, well, whatever happens, happens. Sure enough, she ate the fruit and things started getting interesting right away. She's like, ooh, oh my gosh, I'm naked. And she's like, oh, this is different. I have these weird feelings. Then Adam comes walking up all just like a damn fool, all doop doop doop, all nude, fucking schlong hanging out. And she's like, oh my. She's all, you might want to cover yourself. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's like, I ate the fruit. You did what? Lord God said not to. You're gonna die. She's like, no, I didn't die. Look, I'm still alive. Whatever that means. But like, it changes things, kind of. Here, you should try it. You won't be bored anymore. He's like, oh, really? Fucking let me have some. If you're not gonna die and things get more interesting, let's go, So he eats some too. And boom, it kicks in. He's like, whoa. And then, pretty much the first thing they realize is that he's a man and she's a woman, and the rest is history, kind of thing. And so, yeah, so they get it on. They're like, things got a lot more interesting. Let's put it that way. A lot more fun and just a lot more interesting. I mean, there was more going on now. There was a whole lot more to think about. And then all of a sudden, this Lord God comes on to check on his little project here, and fucking he's all, oh fuck. Fucking snake. God damn it. And he's like, what the fuck? And Eve's like, oh shit. I ate the fruit. I admit it. I did it. I ate the fruit. The snake told me it wasn't going to kill me, and he was right. And Lord God's like, that fucking snake. And he went and fucking said, you fucking snake. And fucking get out of here, you piece of shit. He was pissed, And fucking, oh my God, and Eve's like, fuck, I shouldn't have told him the snake. Oh man, I would feel bad, poor snake. He didn't, oh man, that sucked. And then Lord God comes back, he's pissed. They're like, oh my God, they didn't know what was going to happen. They thought they were going to be killed by Lord God. And Lord God is just like, well, you guys are fucked. Now you're going to die, and all this horrible shit's going to happen. They're like, oh my God. So they were scared, but they were, they had a lot going on at that point. Although they were, startled and sort of, they felt sort of discouraged by Lord God's harsh words and banishing of the snake and just being all fucking pipey and aggro, just drama. So they tried to like forget about it and just kind of carry on with their little love life they had discovered. And lo and behold, she gets pregnant, and they didn't know nothing about nothing. She's got this baby growing inside of her, and they end up having a couple kids, right? Long story short. And, it's just weird. I don't know. I think maybe some of Lord God's, like, cynicism kind of rubbed off on them, maybe. Set the bad vibe, It just kind of created a bad vibe, and I don't know why they decided to do this, but they named their kids Cain and Abel. It's just not very cool to do that because, well, what do you use a cane for? Well, you use a cane for when you're like, when you can't walk, when you're not able-bodied, basically. So there's one guy that's named Abel, and he's all able-bodied. And there's another guy named Cain. He's all, you know what I mean? It's just like, would you rather be Abel or Cain? Well, I'd rather be Abel because I'd want to be able-bodied. I don't want to have to use a cane, It's just not a very good way to start off your life, being named Cain. And sure enough, that's how it worked out. That's how it played out. I mean, they kind of manifested this whole drama that took place. And Abel became all able-bodied. He lived into his name. And then Cain became all, like, bitter and lived into his name and was fucking pissed. He didn't like Abel because Abel had a better lot in life. And Cain was kind of this guy that was just sort of, he became bitter and cynical and didn't like, some of Lord God's, like, cynicism rubbed off on him. he became really bitter and hateful and spiteful, and it ultimately led to his murdering of his able-bodied brother, his innocent, able-bodied brother who had everything good going for himself. Cain was so bitter about it, he killed his brother. And, but these people don't know much about anything, but he knew what he was doing was wrong, but he just didn't care because he just fucking didn't like his life. He was, he, he lived into his role, and his role wasn't a good one. And so, like, Lord God comes along, and he's already pissed about the whole thing, and he's like, oh, great. See what happens? He's like, yelling at everybody again, fucking, it's all this drama, blood and death, and, things got ugly, So Cain gets banished, and go to hell. These people are the first people on the planet Earth, right? The plane, whatever, the realm of Earth. And so, Cain gets banished, and so, like, there's a bunch of other shit that goes on, but what's really interesting to me is that, like, if you were to, like, fuse the names Cain and Abel together, you would get the word cannibal. And I don't know what that's significant of, but I think it has some significance, but that part of the story gets glossed over. That's just me kind of reading into things. Anyways, a bunch of stuff happens, but I'm not really sure, like, I don't recall exactly how this plays out, because you got to understand, there's only Lord God, whoever that is, who is this, like, guy that created these mud people or whatever. And they could actually have children, apparently. So, they had a couple kids. One of the kids killed the other kid. So now there's these two people and their evil kid that was banished. And I don't know what takes place from there, but I would imagine it would have to be something kind of incestuous, unless there was some other people somewhere else, maybe. I don't know. I mean, because God in the beginning did create man and woman, and he told them to be fruitful and multiply, and he gave them all that. He gave them pretty much the opposite instructions that this Lord God gave, which was kind of like, don't eat fruit, don't multiply. And, so it was kind of like, this antithesis. The Lord God was kind of always working against the grain, and pretty much for the rest of the story, you never really hear from God anymore. It's always Lord God. Pretty much the rest of the story. I mean, anyways, like, if you look at the story for what it's worth, I mean, it's like, and then this guy begat this guy who begat that. Begat means, like, gave birth, and it's all these guys. Like, you read all these names, they're all dudes. Begat so-and-so, begat so-and-so, and they're all guy names. And every once in a while, there's like a girl, begat Rachel. Oh, there's a woman. Then there's a bunch more guys, begat guys, begat guys, begat. And then there's, some other woman's name pops up, but it's like mostly dudes. So I'm not even sure how that was all working out. It's like I don't really remember getting too many details about all that, but yeah, So it's just kind of this traumatic, like, this sort of, like, superficial, or I don't know. But I have to imagine that whatever God had created before Lord God came along with his little meddling fucking, makeshift creation, I'd imagine all that other stuff that Lord God had set in motion. I mean, not Lord God, God. I imagine that was unfolding how it was meant to, being fruitful, eating the fruit, and multiplying, and there was no guilt trips or any fucking weird rules, and it was all just pretty intuitive and just good, So that was all going on, but that doesn't really get talked about too much in the story, because the story is more like Lord God-centric, And Lord God proceeds to do a lot of terrible shit. I mean, he meddles in people's affairs, and it just gets uglier and uglier, and there's some really interesting stuff that takes place, though. I mean, a lot of miraculous stuff, But pretty much Lord God is just there the whole time, kind of meddling in people's lives, and it just gets really complex, and it just carries on. It just gets progressively worse, to the point where it's just, like, awful. Everybody's just, just fucked up. thought I'd tell you that little story. I'm gonna grab a cigarette. If I had the world to give, I'd give it to you. As long as you don't eat the fruit and multiply. Don't eat the fruit, don't multiply. Fucking colder than shit out here. It's colder than heaven. It's like if it's hotter than hell, I mean, the opposite would be colder than heaven. I don't want to go to someplace cold. I think the earth is like that Goldilocks spot. It's like right in between heaven and hell. It's like perfect. Perfect climate. Funny how we don't hear much about climate change anymore. Although I'm probably going to, right there, my video got flagged. I'm going to have a little box under my video. Climate change is man-made climate change, blah, 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 blah. We're fossil fuels and all this fucking garbage. It's like, yeah, okay. I mean, I think that's kind of like giving yourself too much credit there, you know? I mean, I don't know. The world's a pretty big place. And I just don't think that our pollution has really caused that big of a climate change. I think what's happening is that there's people with power and an endless money supply, and they just, you know, they're manipulating with nature, and they're trying to change the climate. You know, that's why you see all these planes spraying all this shit in the sky all the time. And it's like this. There are contrails, that's true, but there's also this stuff that comes out of the plane that doesn't do what contrails do. Instead of dissipating and like, you know, like disappearing basically, because it's condensation. I mean, it can only hang in the sky for so long. It dissipates and disappears. And I mean, you'll know by looking at it. You'll see how that's what condensation does. I mean, but then this other stuff that comes out of the plane, it looks kind of like the contrails, you know, condensation, but then it just kind of hangs up there, and it's sort of more thick, you know, but it doesn't dissipate. Instead, what it does, it starts to spread out. Like when it first comes out of the plane, you'll see like this thin line. It looks like a contrail or whatever, but it doesn't dissipate. What it does is it slowly starts widening. It'll be this little thin line at first, but then after, 10 minutes or so, where a contrail should have dissipated, like 15 minutes tops. After 15 minutes, if it's not dissipated and gone, it's something else. And so what I'm saying is after like maybe a half hour, you're going to see that thin line. It'll have like its width will be like, 20 times wider than it was prior. Like it'll be way wider and start spreading out slowly, and it's widening and spreading out. This thin little line that was sprayed out of the plane has now become this big ass line. And then you'll see a bunch of them. The planes are going back and forth, leaving all these big lines, and they're all like doing the same thing, or spreading out, and it becomes like this big mesh of all this weird shit in the sky. It's not condensation because it's still there after hours. It'll be there all day. I mean, they'll do it to the point where the sky that was all blue and clear and beautiful is now all got all this weird mesh of like whatever the shit is. You can see it. It's got weight to it. It's like it starts to drip down. You can see it sagging. I've got all kinds of videos that I put on my channel. Nobody cares. But the thing is, it's not condensation. It's a chemical cloud. It doesn't dissipate. It spreads out, and it drips down all over you and everybody. And it's like, they call it geoengineering, but I think that's a red herring. It's like a geo red herring. I don't think they're trying to engineer much. I think what they're doing is they're like sort of like terraforming the place. Back to my whole bit about the skin jobs and all. This place is like, whoever's like in control of things, with their never-ending money supply, about that never-ending money supply, like these people, once they realize that pretty much everything is up for sale, they figured out a way to create a machine that spits out money. And it's like, fucking, they get as much as they want. It's just put paper in it and ink, and it spits out money. And they're like, "Oh, this is the official money. Nobody can make any other money but us." And so they're like, "Oh, we have, it's like this. It's a pretty cheap shot, really. It's like we are the people that make the real money. It's just paper. There's nothing any more real about it than if you or I were to go make it. But it's like they have the monopoly on this idea of like making money out of thin air. So once they realized that everything was up for sale, they made a machine that spit endless money out, and they just went and started buying everything. They're just corrupt, because that's what happens when you have too much power. When you have too much power in one area, this is what happens. It blows up. Too much power blows up. And so, it's just inevitable that this whole fucking, I mean, who knows what they're doing, but what they're doing is they're like technology. They're just obsessed with their technology. They want to like fucking control every fucking thing that's happening on the whole entire realm. There's like, we want to take inventory of every single living creature and just, we want to like be able to make robot versions of every single thing. You see, like these people with all their power, they want to be a god. They want to be like the Lord God. Really, they're not trying to be God. They want to be Lord God. They want to meddle. They don't want to just create and then let things flourish. They want to create and then meddle in things and like control everything. It's dark. They're not good. They've been, because see, God created a situation where you can go one of two ways. You can go towards the good, or you can go towards the bad. And he gave us this choice. It's free will. I mean, so, you can either go that way or that way. And it's pretty easy to tell which way you're going, Well, these people that are in control with all the power and all the fake money, they all fucking going the wrong way. They're going the wrong way. They know it. But they're just doing it because I guess they get a kick out of it or something, but whatever. I mean, I don't know what their end goal really is, but they're spraying a bunch of shit in the sky, trying to change the climate and create a bunch of weather-related travesties and like, look, the climate's changing, and they're going to try to scare everybody into getting into their little 15-minute cities where they can bioengineer everybody to be all stuck in this one little spot for the rest of their lives. Like, when you're going grocery shopping, you got your grocery cart, say the parking lot was too full when you got there, so you parked on the side street, you're wheeling your groceries out to your car, and then you get to the edge of the parking lot, and your grocery cart's all like, what the fuck? And won't go any further. It stops, fuck. You realize that they have like these little automated brakes that won't let the shopping cart leave the parking lot. Fuck me. You got to carry your groceries the rest of the way. What they want to do, I think, this is what I don't know, nobody told me this, but I think this might be true. They want to bioengineer people to have those kind of brakes on their feet where it's just like, I'm going to leave my 15-minute city. I'm going to get out of here and go check out what's going on elsewhere, I'm out of here. Ah, fuck. And it's not like a fence. I mean, it's kind of like a geo-fence, I guess, but it's just your feet have these brakes put in. It's built into it. You can't leave the parking lot, Ah, fuck. You could, like if someone pulled up with a wheelchair, you could roll away, But it's not. You wouldn't be able to walk, You'd just be like in like brake mode no matter where you went, so you'd have to be in a wheelchair. It just wouldn't be a very desirable situation. They just want to have everybody all controlled and all funneled into their little fucking control grid, It just doesn't seem like a very good idea to me. I mean, why would you want to have that much power? Why would you want to meddle in everybody's lives? I like minding my own business, typically. I don't want to get in anybody else's business. And I don't understand. I can't relate to that mindset. It just really kind of baffles me. This doctor is baffled. Doctors are baffled. We don't know why everybody's dying suddenly all of a sudden. It couldn't be the experimental injections we've been fucking poking in every man, woman, and child on the face of Earth. Okay, everybody line up. We got this new injection we created, and it's just a new experimental technology. We're going to put it in every living human on Earth. It's really important because there's this disease with a 99.997 survival rate. You guys are gonna, you might get sick with an asymptomatic disease. So you're gonna have to take the shot to reduce the symptoms for your asymptomatic disease. And somehow a lot of people were fooled by that. To me, it didn't make any sense. I'm like, no. You want to reduce my asymptomatic symptoms? Oh, what does that look like? It sounds like you're going to kill me. If I'm asymptomatic and it's like my only symptoms are the fact that I'm alive, and you want to greatly reduce that symptom, well, that doesn't sound like a good idea to me. I'll pass on that. Because we do still have free will, it turns out. But they tried every fucking last approach to making you take these shots. Look, first they tried to make it like a big exciting thing. Hey, it's like celebrate the vaccines here. Wee! And what is all the cartoons and Big Birds, and fucking, for the kids, and then for the grown-ups, it's like, hamburgers and donuts and lap dances and, drugs and alcohol and whatever kind of, gluttonous fucking thing they try to lure you in with, your fucking pleasures of the flesh, just try to convince you to come get this shot. Could be anything. It turns out they don't even know what half the ingredients are. The people that made these shots didn't have to disclose 50% of the ingredients. So there was half the ingredients were a complete mystery. So you have all these people up on the world say, oh, it's safe and effective. They were all telling you it's safe when they didn't even know what the fuck it was. They couldn't have known that it was safe because they didn't know what it fucking was. Yet people didn't seem to be too put out by that thought. They just, oh, whatever, it must be safe because they said it was safe. Yeah, but they couldn't know it was safe because they don't know what the fuck it is. I guess that was just lost on people. To me, I think that's a crime. You're going to tell somebody something's safe and they better go get it. And it's like, you don't even know what the fuck it is. How do you know it's safe if you don't know what it is? I mean, it's really simple, like kindergarten logic. But people were still fooled by this idea, and they still went and got all these shots. And it's like they're still pushing these shots. Like, well, if you haven't died yet, come and get some more. If you're still alive, then you're eligible for another jab. It never sounded like a very, exciting, like, it never felt like something that was very inviting to me. I was always like, that sounds terrible. I'll pass on that. And that's the thing, the 50% of the ingredients that they did disclose, the stuff that they told you it was in it, all that shit was terrible. Like, you look up some of the stuff, like the fucking, like, it just didn't take much research to figure this out. Like, you look up, like, whatever, there's like the fucking, what do they call it? Like the, it's like the, I forget the word for it now. It's the lipid nanoparticles or whatever they're, like this shot, it's got mRNA in it, but it wasn't really messenger RNA. It was mod RNA, which means it was modified RNA, which means it was man-made. It's artificial RNA, so it's not going to behave the same way your normal God-given RNA behaves. It's different. Like mRNA, it breaks down and it's like it's disposed of quick. But the mod RNA, they don't really even know. It doesn't break down. But like, well, this mod RNA, they don't tell you it's mod. They say it's mRNA. They kind of lied about that too. It's mRNA. People thought it was messenger. No, it's mod RNA. It's going to turn your body into a spiky protein factory. So now your cells in your body that come in contact with this injection, they're going to start manufacturing these little spiky balls. They had this whole like weird like pseudoscience thing where they think these little spiky, there's like these invisible spiky balls, or like, microscopic spiky balls. Really all that is like it's just decaying cell matter. It looks like this little, it's just like microscopic little, they think it's the thing that's causing you to be sick. But really what it is, it's just like your body is just excreting like dead cell waste, and it's like, and that's what it looks like when it's breaking down. But they think that's the thing that's causing the problem because there's so much of it. No, it's not what's causing the problem. That's just the fucking reaction. That's what your body is shedding. But they are all like, They think this is the problem, and so you don't want to breathe in these spiky balls. Had everybody all freaking out about spiky balls. Now they figured out how to make your body produce these things. I mean, they didn't even know what they're talking about, really. It's just the most shoddy science you'd ever. It's like fucking voodoo witch doctor crap. That's what pharmakia means in the first place. Pharmakia is witch doctor. Fucking weird. Snakes and snails and puppy dog tails. So, yeah, so it just wasn't a good idea. Like, if in any other type of situation, if somebody came up to you and were like, well, I'm going to put this injection in you and it's going to turn your body into a spiky protein factory, and we don't know how long it's going to happen or what. They lied and said it's only going to happen in your arm. But then, of course, it happened all over, their whole body, and people are still, they kept giving them, keep getting more of these shots. We want to have as many spiky proteins. It's just this wackadoodle science. I mean, the science is it's wackadoodle. For one thing, I'm not scared of an invisible, microscopic little thing. That doesn't scare me. And so, but there's no reason why I would want my body to produce these things. And it's ironic because later in the game, they're telling people like me that didn't get the shots, they're like, these unvaccinated people are variant factories. They were calling me and us unjabbed people, they're calling us variant factories. It's just, what the fuck? No, it's just me like I've always been. A factory? What are you talking about? It was projection. It's this classic projection, because what's really going on is they had turned all these people into these little spiky protein factories, these little variants, or whatever, variations of what your body would normally make. So all the people that got the jabs were the variant factories. The rest of us were just who we always were. I mean, just classic projection all the way down the line. It's just a big, ugly mess. It's still taking place today. And they're still pushing that shit. And I feel so sad for people that were convinced into their story, because their story doesn't make sense. And it's just like, I think they were just scared into it because there was so much, like the whole thing was just so, it was like pervasive, like the whole world, like the whole idea of countries and different, leaders and all that shit just dissolved overnight, and everybody was doing the same fucking thing all at once. It's just all like, oh, so all that shit that we normally thought was happening with all these separate countries all over the world and with different policies and governments and languages and whatever, customs and pastimes and traditions, all that shit just washed away overnight. Now we're all doing the same fucking thing. Strap all these masks on your face, get a ton of experimental injections, and hide in your house, and don't be around anybody, and it's all this weird propaganda. It was worldwide. So it was enough to startle the faint of heart, and they just kind of thought if they played along with the tyranny, then it would just go away. But that's really not how that works. Typically, when there's tyrants being tyrannical, if you comply with their tyranny, that's you giving them the thumbs up, like, keep going with this. This is all right by me. I'll do whatever you tell me. And so they just continue, and they just keep doing it. But the thing is, if nobody complied, then they would just fade into fucking nothing. Nobody would, they would just disappear, because nobody would fucking want to give them the time of day, and they wouldn't have anybody eating out of their hands, and they would just be like, fuck, back to the drawing board. But too many people were just scared. They got so scared because they saw stuff on TV about people being sick. But, I thought it was fake, because I don't trust the news. How could you trust the news after 9/11 when they tried to convince the whole world that a building, a skyscraper 110 stories, could catch on fire and then crumble in its footprint perfectly 3 times? Like, wow, I never knew a skyscraper could catch on fire and then just collapse perfectly as though it were like a demolition. Interesting. That was the most impossible to believe story I've ever been told. So at that point, the whole entire world should have been like, okay, anything that comes on the TV news from now on is bullshit. Until they admit that that was a big fucking lie, Nothing they say is true. That's what the whole world should have just said. Okay, anything that comes out of this media is bullshit. It can't be trusted because that was such a big fucking lie. But the thing is that people get scared and they stop thinking clearly, you know? It's kind of like what Lord God did to these people. He's like, don't eat the fruit, fucking snake. And he just throws a big hissy fit and he seems powerful. So, you know, it's like, but really there's just like this old man behind the curtain, you know? He's like, you know, the great Oz, like, he's just trying to scare you into doing shit. But at least just some fucking pathetic little fucking dweeb, you know, Bill Gates. We need to reduce the human population by 15%. It's like 1.5 billion people. We need to do this, and I believe we could do it if we would do a good job with vaccinating the whole world. Oh, so you want to reduce the population by 1.5 billion people? And you think that if you get everybody vaccinated, for what? I don't know, he didn't specify, but that will reduce the population? That's what he said. And you see, I'm kind of like, that doesn't make sense, you know? There's something going on here that's not, this doesn't add up. So I had decided to look into what this old Bill Gates, what the fuck he's talking about, right? It turns out this clown, he thinks that when people are vaccinated and their children are vaccinated, that they're going to have less children because they know their children are going to be healthy and survive. So instead of having 10, 12 children just to compensate for the, you know, all the children that are probably going to die from diseases, now they know that their children are going to be healthy, so they're not going to have 12. They're only going to have 1 or 2. That's his theory. And maybe he's right. I don't know. I don't know how you would even come to that conclusion, like on a big scale. Like, if we vaccinate the whole world, people are just going to have less kids. Are you sure? You know what people are going to decide to do? Are you sure you're not sterilizing people? Well, it turns out that's what he was doing. And there was plenty of people that just died from all kinds of crazy-ass fucking new ailments. I mean, it's never been a good idea to have somebody that you don't know stick a needle in and inject a bunch of stuff that they don't even know what it is into you. It's never been a good idea. It never will be a good idea, and there's nothing good that can come out of it. And so, if somebody wants to reduce the human population by like 1.5 billion people, and he intends to do so by sticking needles in everybody, well, that's a plan that people shouldn't be like ready to play along with. And so I wasn't ready. I'm just like, there's something else going on here. He's not really banking on the fact that people are going to decide to have less kids. Like, that's a big effort to make, just to like on the notion that people are going to decide to do something because of his effort. I don't think that's really very good logic or science. I think that's pretty crackpot, wackadoodle nonsense. And I saw right through that mess. And I'm like, this is fucking disturbing. This guy needs to be he needs to be the martyr for his cause. What he needs to do is get up there and get all his loved ones up there and fucking have somebody just end their lives and be like, I'm going to, you know, maybe he'll inspire other people to do what he wants to do, which is get rid of people. If that's what he thinks there needs to be less people, then he needs to be the first one to do it, to go. And him and his loved ones, they can just go reduce themselves, and then the rest of us can decide what we want to do from there on out. Because, like, it's pretty rude to get up on stage and to suggest that everybody needs to start reducing themselves. You know, you need to lead by example, Mr. Bill Gates. I don't really think that you're very altruistic. I think you have something else going on there, buddy. I don't trust you. And why would you? I mean, Microsoft, the guy has no backbone. I mean, he's just like an invertebrate. Well, that was a tangent. I don't make waves, I ride them. That's right. I don't make waves, I ride them. I get inside them and let them guide me in. I don't know where these waves begin, but I know where they're gonna end. I just wanna ride them, I just get inside them and let them guide me in. Oh, it can take a toll on your soul. You got nowhere to go, and there's nothing fun to do. I know there's only so far that you can go before the waves catch up with you. Out there on that horizon, I can see those waves coming in. I'm getting inside the pipeline, it's a straight line every time. It's too cold out here to play guitar. I quit. That's it, show's over. It's been real, it's been fun. It's been real fun. I can almost see the Big Dipper. You know, when I was a little kid, you could see the stars so much better. Like, you could actually see them. When I was a kid, I went backpacking on the John Muir Trail when I was 21. We got out and we did the whole John Muir Trail. It took a month. It was crazy. It was fun. It was quite an experience. Out in the backcountry, you can see this, like, I shit you not. We did do a lot of mushrooms, but I know that what I saw was real. You look up in the sky out there in the high Sierras at night when you're just like, you know, a week's walk from any civilization, you're way the fuck out there. And like fucking, the sky has so many fucking stars. There's more white from stars than there is black from, dark, you know, night. Like, it's just insane. I mean, I remember one night being at the top of this, there was this place called the Muir Hut, the John Muir Hut. And it was like this little hut made out of cobblestones. It was on this one pass. We hiked up there. It has snow year round at this one pass. You know, a pass is like the high point on the mountain. And we hiked up there. We were planning on sleeping in this one hut that night. We're like, we're gonna sleep in this hut tonight because it's gonna be like a, you know, a beautiful view up there. You know, when you're up in the higher elevations, it was like. And so we got to this hut, and there was snow outside, but we camped inside this hut. It was me and well, there was 5 of us. And so we got all high on mushrooms, and we were just like hanging out in the hut. And like this other random dude came in. He's just some random backpacker, and he didn't realize what he was walking into. Oh boy. But yeah, after a while we felt kind of bad because he was trying to sleep, and we were just giggling and making the most, saying the most absurd shit probably. I don't know, just a bunch of kids on mushrooms. We've been out in the backcountry backpacking for like 3 weeks. I mean, we were in rare form. And, you know, I felt kind of bad. And I'm like, let's go outside, you know, and trip out on the stars. And we went outside to the hut, and I was just speechless. I could not believe the sky. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, there were so many fucking stars. I just stood there speechless. All of us were just like, we went from being all giddy and goofy like little kids, all fucking, all mushroomed out, all fucked up. We went outside and we all just went quiet and just staring at the sky, just like jaws gaping. Oh my God. We did not realize what we were going to see. Like, it was the most amazing sky I've ever seen. And I'm sure the psychedelics kind of helped, but I mean, you know, I wasn't seeing like flying elephants and paisleys. I was seeing reality. It was just like things are just kind of more, when you take psychedelics, I mean, a lot of times what it's doing is just heightening your sensory perception. Like, things become more real. It's not like you're hallucinating a bunch of fake shit that's not there. You're seeing reality even more. You're more immersed in reality. Like, you shed all that like conditioning and all that stuff that's kind of made you sort of numb and kind of dulled you down, where you're not really enjoying the beauty of nature so much as you should be or could be. And when you take the psychedelics, it kind of dissolves all those barriers that have been built in your mind, where it kind of trained you to be more of like a person who's just focused on material thing and like societal pressures and working and fucking day-to-day life. It dissolves all that shit, and all that shit seems like a distant memory. When you get all high, you're like, whew, what was I thinking before? Now I'm just, wow, and everything's all like real. So like, I would never make the argument that because somebody was on psychedelics, they were seeing something that wasn't really there. I would make the argument that someone's on psychedelics, they're seeing what's really there, and the people that aren't tripping are just, they're missing out. And so, yeah, I didn't know there was that many stars. And, and since I know that now, I look at the sky, and I see like I can count like 10 stars or something. That's pretty much, a typical night. Maybe on a good night, you'll see like 20. I'm telling you, there are trillions of stars. I mean, there's an innumerable amount of stars in the sky. We just don't get to see them. I mean, they polluted our view, I think, is what it is. Because I know those stars didn't disappear, and I know they're there. But we just have all this shit in our atmosphere now from these people with their fucking weird agenda trying to change the climate and whatever they're spraying up there. I mean, I think most of it sinks down to the ground, but they're always at it. Whatever it is, we don't see the stars like we used to. They're not as grand. And I haven't been back out on the John Muir Trail, so I don't know. Maybe it's still like that out there. I hope so. I really do. Because it was incredible. It left a mark on my soul. Like, I remember seeing that, and I'm just like, I knew while I was looking at it that I wasn't ever going to be the same again. Like, I had no idea that's the world I lived in. And that was back when I used to believe in all the heliocentric model, all the shit that we've been taught. Not that we were really taught the model all that well. I mean, we were just taught that we're on a planet and we're orbiting the sun. There's all these other planets, and they don't give you all the details, They don't tell you exactly why they think this. I mean, they do, but they don't. It's like, they give you the dumbed down version of it. And you just believe it because, like, you think, why would somebody lie about such a big, about reality? And like, oh, we can see the planets. Can you, though? I mean, you can, like, use your telescope and look at this little orange blinking light. Well, that's Mars. You can go land a rover there and drive around and... no. I don't think so. In fact, it's something that's impossible to verify yourself. And it's like one of these things you got to take somebody at their word. The same people that would like you to think that a building could catch on fire and collapse in its footprint, all neat and nice, turn to dust. People that tell big lies, you have to trust those same people. And I'm just not down with that. So I started thinking about it. Once the whole flat earth conversation arose online, I'm like, this is interesting. What the fuck? How come I never thought of that before? I didn't bother thinking like, well, maybe the earth is just how it looks. Whoa. Maybe it's not spinning and flying around the sun, but maybe it's just how it looks. I hadn't had that thought yet, But nonetheless, it's all those stars. I did not know that many stars existed until that night when I saw that. And I've always wondered, I'm like, how come it's not like that every night? Like, that was special. I mean, every night we saw a lot of stars out there, but that one night, I mean, and I think it was because we were really not high on mushrooms, but high elevation. We were camping at this pass, and there was no moon. It was just, I mean, you can tell that I was moved by it. And I was with a bunch of, we were all kids. It was me and there was one other guy that was older than me, but the rest of the gang there was 3 other guys that were like kids I grew up with. They were like, a few years younger than me. We were all like we were tough mountain kids, but we were like kind of immature and silly, And we'd just been goofing off hardcore, right before we went outside. And all of us saw the stars, and something happened to us because we all shut the fuck up and and we stood there just staring, like all the silliness just kind of faded, and we're just like, holy shit. It was really intense. And I just wonder, like, how many people have actually seen something like that? I bet there's not that many. I mean, comparatively, like, if you had, like, just 100 people at random, there's probably only a few people that have actually witnessed something to that degree, because it's not something that I've seen that many times. You can go up in the Sierras and you can see a lot of stars, but I'm telling you, when you get out in the back country like that, it's magical, man. I don't know if you can. I want to go out there and see if it's still possible to see that many stars, because, like, it really blew my mind, and it still blows my mind thinking about it, because now you look at the sky, you don't think you're not aware that there's, I don't know. It would have been cool to have like my Nikon P1000 back then. It would have been cool to have been like more aware of what was going on, or just, although, when I think about it, I wasn't, yeah, really though, that's the thing, that we've been programmed to think that when we're looking at the sky, that we're looking at this place, that the whole entire world that we're on is flying through, like the whole entire Earth. Like, there's places and things, I mean, can you think about how much the entire Earth would weigh? It's just a number that nobody could ever conceive of. It's just that amount of stuff, dense, like just weight. The whole entire world, it's like suspended in emptiness. And it's just this never-ending void, and we're just like falling through it while being whipped around the sun, spinning, or, I mean, it's a pretty crazy idea when you think about it. If you actually think about it, it doesn't really jive with what our experience is. Yeah, I do want to give the globe model some credit, because it is a pretty interesting interpretation of what we see in the sky, and it does make sense mathematically to a certain extent. But the problem is, you have to be looking at the sky for it to make sense. Once you bring it back down to Earth, and you're like okay, I'm just going to look at the ground, I'm going to look at the Earth now, I'm going to figure out, is this Earth spinning, orbiting, and curving into a big ball? You'll be hard-pressed to find any evidence of that while paying attention to the ground. If you're just trying to figure out what the Earth is itself and you're not paying attention to the sky, you'd never come to that conclusion in a million years, that you're spinning, orbiting in a big ball. That would never. So this is entirely a thing that was spawned from, staring at the sky and marveling at the wonders of the sky. This place that we don't really have access to. It's a perfect place for charlatans in white lab coats to exploit and like make a bunch of fancy stories, because we can't go verify and validate any of this shit that we're being told. I mean, they've tactfully done this. I mean, it's not like it was just something they thought up overnight. I mean, this is deep. But I'm at the point where I'm just gonna say, you know what, I don't care how many fucking equations you show me, you just can't prove the sky goes below me. It just sounds like a bunch of baloney to me now. I don't buy it. Because not only would somebody be standing upside down juxtaposed to me, they don't feel upside down. So that means I'm upside down, and I'm not upside down, damn it. So there, I just debunked that. Well, they want you to think that you're being held to the outside of this ball like a magnet because of this fictitious force named gravity that holds things, it pulls things into balls, and it causes balls, and it causes stars and suns and balls and orbits and solar systems. This gravity is like God to these people. The big G, it's like this, everything, their whole entire model is built and held together by this idea of gravity. Gravity is this concept that is what we like to call unfalsifiable, because in order to prove that gravity is what's going on, you would have to be able to isolate, things the size of Earth, and you can't. There's nothing that you can't design a scientific experiment using the scientific method to prove the concept of gravity. And in fact, if you're gonna practice the scientific method when it comes to like, a force like that, where it's like a force, like, there's forces in nature. There's like natural forces where there's like magnets, like pull, there's things like that, an electromagnet, but there's also just like this normal force that kind of gets glossed over. Normal force, contact force. It's like normal force is the force that's pushing up on you, pushing up on your feet. It's like, but they don't want you to really spend a whole lot of time thinking about that, because Because here's what happens. If you have a reference frame, a, just like a place where it's like a reference frame where it's like within this reference frame, like if it was like a big bubble, you have some stuff inside this bubble. There's like, you know, some things that are heavy and some things that are like buoyant. And then you add an accelerating force to that reference frame. You start pushing it. Everything inside that reference frame is going to immediately organize in a specific way every time. A force that's accelerating on a reference frame is going to create a density pressure gradient. The more dense stuff is going to be pushed in the direction where the force is coming from. If I'm pushing it this way, everything dense is going to be pushed right up against where the force is coming from. And anything buoyant that's inside this reference frame, like a helium balloon, it's going to be going the opposite direction. It's going to be moving with the direction of the force. If, like say you're in your car and you step on your gas pedal, you're dense, you're pushed into your seat. The direction of the force is coming from behind you, it's pushing you. You're pushed in the direction the force is coming from. You have a helium balloon in your car, it's going to go towards the windshield. You've created a pressure gradient by adding a force acceleration. The pressure gradient, the more dense is being pushed where the force is coming from, and the less dense, the more buoyant is being pushed in the opposite direction. The more buoyant is going in the direction the force is going, and the dense is being pushed the other way against where the force is coming from. This is stuff we know intuitively. I mean, it's like, when you step on the gas, you're going to be pushed into your seat. A lot of people don't realize that when you step on the gas, the helium balloon is going to go towards the windshield. That's something I've surprised people with. I was surprised when I heard that. I'm like, really? But that's true. That's what happens. And so we know this intuitively about acceleration. A car is a good example because you know that when you step on the gas pedal, there's certain things that are going to happen. Your soda is going to slide into the back seat. Anything that's got weight, that's dense, is going to be pushed towards where the force is coming from. Anything that is buoyant, like the helium balloon, is going to go towards the opposite direction, go with the force. That's the part that a lot of people don't expect, but it's true. That's what happens. The helium balloon will go towards the windshield. So you've created a pressure gradient, a density gradient, whatever you want to call it. And the reason I'm going on this tangent is because what we experience here on Earth is a pressure gradient, a density gradient. We're dense. The more rocks and things that are dense are held, pushed against the ground here. And like you let go of your helium balloon, it's going that way. Say you take the whole situation in the car, and this is the back of the car, this is the front of the car. You turn it like this, okay? You were getting pushed into your seat, right? The helium balloon is going to the windshield. Okay. Well, now you see it like this. Now that resembles our situation that we're in just every day. Like, we're being pushed against the back of the car, the ground. The helium balloon's going that way, the windshield. And, that resembles the situation where we have a density gradient that we exist in this reference frame. The thing is, when you're in the car and there was a force accelerating you, you were actually going somewhere, But now when you're just here in this density gradient, we feel stationary. We are stationary. In this reference frame, I don't exactly know what God had to do in order to create this situation. What do you do when you're starting from scratch? I mean, we take a lot of stuff for granted, Our orientation, like our weight. You know that if you were in an elevator and you were going up really fast, and say the floor of the elevator was a scale, where you first stepped in the elevator before it started going up, your weight would be how much you normally weigh, I'm 165 pounds, I would say 165, but then the elevator turned on and started pushing us up super fast. You're going to look at your weight, you're going to weigh more, because you're being pushed against that scale harder, because there's a force being added to the situation. You're dense, you're being pushed down where the direction where the force is coming from. It's pushing you up. The helium balloon would go up towards the ceiling. But you would weigh more. Your weight, it's sort of, I don't want to say it's sort of arbitrary, but kind of is, like in the sense where like if that elevator just continued pushing you at that rate, that's your new weight now. That's how much you weigh. And it's a lot more than you normally would have weighed when you weren't in the elevator. If it just continued like that, you would just weigh more now because there's a stronger force pushing you up. But we're not supposed to think that we're being pushed up. We're supposed to be thinking that we're pushed down. Like when something falls, it's not being supported. It falls out of the sky and hits the ground. There's nobody in their right mind would ever think that what we're witnessing is the ground rising up to hit the thing. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't seem right. And, but here's the thing. The effect of gravity, 9.8 meters squared per second, that's the average of what they think things fall to the ground. That's what they've deduced. That was calculated by visibly observing things falling. Okay, but now, if you really wanted to actually measure the rate of that fall, calculating and measuring are two different things. Measuring is like when you have like a device that's measuring the speed, like if you're in your car, you have a speedometer. That speedometer is measuring your speed based on the tire. It's connected with your tire. Your tire is rotating, and that's how it knows how fast you're going. It's measuring your rate of travel based on how fast your tires are spinning. It's connecting with the ground. It's moving you. They figured out how to actually measure how fast you're going based on the thing that's pushing the wheels turning. That's how they know how fast you're going. But if something's falling in the air, what are you going to measure this? How are you going to measure its speed? With that, like other than just observing and just guessing. That's how that's just calculating. But how are you actually going to measure its speed? We're going to need something like a speedometer, but the speedometer it's like I said, it's based on this physical contact, but there's nothing contacting it. How are you going to measure the rate of fall? Well, there is this thing called an accelerometer, and it's a device that has like a weight in the middle, and there's sensors all around it. And so when you push on this device, the weight is pushed, like, when you add a force to an accelerate, like it's the reference frame. If you accelerate the accelerometer, the weight is going to be pushed against whatever sensor. Like you push it that way, the weight in the middle is going to be pushed against where you're pushing from. So it's going to give you an acceleration based on where the force is coming from. It's going to tell you it's accelerating this way. It's going to tell you where the acceleration is coming from, where the force is coming from. It never fails. It's always going to work that way. That's how weight, and that's how this works. When you add a force to a situation, you're accelerating something. So the accelerometer is always going to tell you where the force is coming from. You can take and play with it and see, because the weight's always going to be pushed against the direction where the force is coming from. It's always going to give you a correct reading where the force is accelerating this thing from. It's an accelerometer. It works perfectly. It's logically, it checks out. It makes sense. Push it in any direction. It's always going to give you an accurate reading of where the acceleration is coming from, because the weight is pushed against the sensor, and it gives you that reading. Okay, now when you drop this accelerometer and it just falls, you're not touching it. It's just falling, and free fall, 9.8, whatever, it's falling. Now, it's falling, but if you were to like slow down that footage and look at that accelerometer while it's falling, that accelerometer is now giving you a reading of 0. That's when the accelerometer is now in its resting state while it's appearing to fall. It is showing you that it is not accelerating. It gives you a reading of no acceleration is taking place here. 0. You get a reading of 0 while it's appearing to fall to the ground. It's at rest. It tells you, I'm at rest. I'm finally not accelerating. And then it hits the ground, boom. And now the weight of that accelerometer, like I was explaining, the weight is going to be pushed down, once it hits the ground, and it's going to register the bottom sensor, and it's going to give, once it's sitting on the ground, this accelerometer is going to trigger the bottom sensor, and it's going to give you that reading of an upwards force accelerating on it. That's how it works. And so we're with the accelerometer, we have to sit there and go, okay, so when it's appearing to fall, that's when that's when the accelerometer thinks it's at rest. It's just a device, but it loses its weight. The weight doesn't push against anything while it's falling. It's at rest. When it finally hits the ground, now the weight pushes down on the bottom sensor, and it triggers that, and it gives you a reading of an upwards acceleration at 9.8 meters per second squared, which is the complete opposite of how gravity's been explained to us. And yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow to think the whole entire Earth system, everything, stars included, all the way down, the whole reference frame is accelerating upwards, giving the effect of this density gradient that we're experiencing. And it's so perfectly, it seems like such a crazy idea. It's just kind of silly. But kind of makes sense. Anyways, I gotta go. I love you guys. Thanks for listening to me rant.